Tonight we're talking Passenger, a cryptid road horror film that's actually one of two movies this week that I'm talking that really feels like a throwback to early 2000s horror. We're talking cheap but good jump scares, arbitrary rules that ultimately don't mean all that much, and a love story that's supposed to fuel the journey. Welcome to T Watches a Scary Movie. Roll the tape. Simple but effective. Maddie and Tyler, a couple that has recently transitioned into van life, stop to help somebody whose car has crashed on the side of the road, only to discover that there's this mysterious entity known as the Passenger haunting people on lonely highways. The two will have to discover the truth behind the Passenger while navigating a marriage proposal if they want to stay on the road. Now, right away, this movie taps into something that horror fans like myself love so much: ordinary locations becoming terrifying. There's a scene where Maddie and Tyler flee into a diner to discuss the monster, and it just feels like there's something intrinsically horror about sitting in a late night diner and talking about this monstrous thing that's coming and killing them. The same thing with a scene that's setting in a gym parking lot earlier on in the film. That setting felt weirdly familiar to me because, like a lot of you, I'm sure we do late night workouts, and you never think twice about walking through that parking lot after a good workout with the headphones still in, not realizing something could be trying to kill you. That's where Passenger works best, taking everyday travel anxiety and turning it scary. And speaking of scary, the kills in this movie absolutely do not play around. There may not be a huge body count in Passenger, but they make every single death that much more important to the story. You've got airbag kills, people getting thrown through windshields, you have somebody literally getting their head ripped off. This movie goes hard with the gore when it decides it wants to rev it up another gear. Now, Passenger relies heavily on jump scares. That's the movie's bread and butter. But the good news is a lot of them work extremely well. I'm telling you right now, there is a garbage truck jump scare that absolutely got me compared to all the rest of the others in the film. And I'm just laughing at myself thinking about that is the thing that scared the hell out of me in that movie compared to a lot of the other ones. But they all are really effective. But the downside is that when the movie isn't doing jump scares, there's only a handful of moments where it really maintains that dread-filled atmosphere. And sometimes it feels like it's waiting for the next loud scare instead of truly trying to build that tension naturally like a lot of other films this year have been doing. But performance-wise, though, I thought the leads carried this movie extremely well. Jacob Ciprio, who you probably know from the last two Bad Boy films, and Lou LaBelle as Tyler and Maddie, they have genuinely great chemistry together. It doesn't matter if it's about the early relationship stuff, the marriage proposal, the two of them trying to desperately survive this creature. They feel absolutely believable together, and that is one thing that you have to get right in this kind of horror film. And honestly, one thing that I really appreciated about all of this, the movie doesn't spend forever trying to gaslight the main character. You know, I talked about this in my Obsession review recently. Horror movies love making that one main character see all these terrifying things while everybody else just acts like they're going absolutely crazy for a good 90 minutes, right? But Passenger starts that way with Maddie being the one seeing the passenger in all these different spots, but then Tyler ends up figuring out very, very quickly that all of this is real and moves on with it. And I appreciated that a lot. Along with that, the fact that these two had some great survival logic for a horror film, or at least Maddie did. Tyler's trying to play catch up in this one here. The fact that at the beginning of the film, they set up a GPS to utilize because, again, they're switching to van life and you can't always trust a cell phone if you're out in the middle of nowhere. I think horror movies sometimes forget how easy modern technology makes getting help. And so setting up these things earlier on to show why they can't do certain things to help themselves out of the jam. I love when movies do the homework like that. Also, Maddie refusing to split up later on in the movie, so good. Thank you for not being a traditional horror couple and getting y'all killed by doing something stupid like that. Just doesn't work at all. Now, keep in mind here, The cryptid of Passenger itself worked really well because it reminded me of a lot of other cryptic central horror films recently, like The Empty Man, Antlers, or even The Ritual to an extent. It feels like one of those creatures that's built out of urban legends and fringe stories, but they slowly take on a life of their own in all of these smaller underground circles. That kind of horror always creeps me out because it's basically folklore, right? But again, the movie has issues. The biggest one are the rules surrounding the passenger feels inconsistent. The characters are repeatedly warned not to stop, not to travel at night, but Maddie and Tyler break these rules throughout the entire film multiple times, and they keep on getting through each different encounter. So naturally, you gotta start wondering, is the passenger limited to only 1 or 2 attacks per night? Is it weaker in an actual town versus like a van life community? Is it targeting specifically nomads, travelers, people who are living that van life? The film doesn't really give us any kind of answer. There's no clarification to that in here at all. I also think that the emotional tension resolves itself just a bit too quickly here. You know, the relationship between Maddie and Tyler seems fairly solid throughout this entire film, but the whole idea of will they or won't they, like with the whole marriage proposal, that gets wrapped up really fast to the point to where it's like, why would you include it in the first place? I almost think, honestly, that the movie really would have benefited from Maddie and Tyler having a friend that was traveling with them, somebody who could have gotten killed off midway through the film to increase that tension and conflict between those two and to raise the stakes just a little bit more. That would have balance things perfectly. Because the thing is, once Tyler and Maddie connect emotionally, there's not really any dramatic tension going on throughout the entire film besides them realizing they're about to be attacked or they're in mortal danger. Now, with all that said, I still had a lot of fun with this. After watching so many heavier horror films like Obsession and Hokum recently, it was actually refreshing to get something a little bit more fast-paced and definitely more accessible for somebody who's just looking for a quick, easy horror film to get into. This is definitely cryptid horror that is aimed at a younger crowd, and I don't think it's as well crafted or as emotionally heavy as some of the more stronger releases we've gotten in the last couple of months here, but it's still entertaining, it's bloody, and it's easy to throw on with your friends. Again, there is a real like brotherhood. There's a kinship here with early 2000 horror films here with Passenger. And ultimately, that has me giving Passenger 3.5 tapes out of 5. Now, if you want to go and make this rental a double feature, then you need to go and pair this up with films like The Empty Man, Antlers, or even the old 8 Films to Die For, Penny Dreadful, if you want more folklore and creature feature vibes. But that is going to do it for me here tonight, folks. That's tonight's tape. Don't watch it alone.